And now, right to your host of this House of Musicians, Barry Smith.
Hello, fine listener, and welcome to this House of Musicians radio show. We hope you enjoy the next hour with us as we do our small part to help promote musicians, bands, and venues. Gary Labar, how are you this evening?
I'm fine, sir. I'm hoping you are as well.
I'm doing quite well. Very excited about our guest. We have Sean McCann on the show this evening. Sean was co-founder of Great Big Sea, and also, I believe, has 5 of his own amazing studio albums out. So help me welcome Sean McCann. How are you, Sean?
I'm fantastic, lads. How are you guys doing?
Doing really good. It's a pleasure to have you, an honor. I know you've had a really nice music career, and it's great to have you on here to talk about it. First, I want to start, Sean, by asking you how you were influenced by music when you were younger. Did you have a brother with let's say, an album collection, or did your folks play guitars or play music at all? I'm just curious to how you were influenced by music.
Well, my mom was always playing around with piano and singing old songs from the 30s and 40s. And I was always drawn to that. I was singing it like I sang before I spoke, apparently. I sang a song called Patty Murphy, which was recorded in Great Big Sea. There's a tape evidence of that somewhere.
That's
but
great.
They used to have, but they had Buddy Holly records and Elvis Presley records. So there was always a bit of music in the house. But in Newfoundland, where I come from, there's an awful lot of live music. There was always a guitar, an accordion, someone singing, recitations, a lot of poetry, a lot of recitations, actually. Mm-hmm. And so I was immersed in it. There's something about that culture. It's a fairly isolated place, so they were well equipped to deal with this pandemic. But, you know, they always stuck together with music. Music was always a thing. Everyone had their one song they could do, or their recitation of poetry they could do, or their joke. And so I was steeped in it like a cup of tea.
Absolutely. That's great. And so when did you realize that you could, well, let me ask you this first. What instrument did you start playing when you were, the first instrument you started playing?
I took piano lessons when I was in grade 1, but it was a nun who was teaching me, and she was fairly cantankerous. She was terrifying, actually, so I gave that up. And I didn't play anymore. I focused then on hockey. I became a good right defense hockey player, and that was my sole focus until I got out of high school and got into university, and I started working in one of the hundreds of bars that St. John's has the highest per capita ratio of bars in North America, like more than New Orleans, more than Vegas per capita. Amazing. So this is where all the university students work. And the thing about the pubs is they're quite good, actually, if you're a drinking fella. And I was at the time, and they all have decent bands. Like, there's a lot of bands who are competent. Some are great, some are not so great, but they're all able to play. And I was working there slinging beer bottles up and down stairs, you know, as a busboy. And I decided that I wanted to be in a band. so just because, you know, they got paid more and met more girls than I was. I needed an instrument. So I went out and bought it, having a single chord. Actually, it was very brave of me. I bought a guitar, fully intending to learn how to play it. And now I know all 3 chords, so I'm good to go. It's been steady ever since I learned those 3.
That's amazing. Good for you. You can play 3 chords. You can almost play anything. That's what they say.
That's all you need, man. And the truth, right? That's it.
And the truth, right? And something that's happened to you, and you know, like as you go along in life, we all write stories or write songs about. I do anyway, about things that happen, you know, as you go along through your life. But I can certainly relate to what you're talking about, Newfoundland. My dad's from Bishop's Falls, and my mom's from Botwood. I grew up literally hanging out with Dick Nolan and Roy Payne, and even wrote a song about Dick Nolan back in the day. I'm going back 25 years now, probably I did that, but definitely relate to everything you're talking about. It's just an amazing place to be down there.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool.
When was the last time? Let me ask you this: when you're playing either with your solo stuff or with Great Big Sea in Newfoundland, I'm very interested to know this. Are the people do they go more crazy when you guys are playing than they would in Ontario or Edmonton or?
They not so much. I would say there's not a radical difference with the Great Big Sea stuff. When that was happening, we were extremely popular at home. Even though, you'd run into us on the street, or we were very accessible. You could definitely have a beer with any of us anytime, especially if you were paying for it. But we did some massive shows in Newfoundland, and but there's just not as many people. So we sold more records in places like Toronto and Ottawa and Vancouver, wherever the cities were. So I would say really very little difference. And, we were very proud Newfoundlanders. We would, we sold the brand, and even dealt with Newfoundland tourism and stuff. And I think we definitely sold a few tickets to the island on Air Canada. We should probably get a rebate for that or something somewhere down the line.
Free tickets for life, man. That's amazing. And 2 million CDs now. This is what I read. It's probably more than that now. And obviously you were one of the co-founders of Great Big Sea, a very successful band in Canada. 2 million CDs. Like I say, it's probably more than that now. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, we were lucky. We were the last, I think, people who actually made money off of record sales, It very quickly turned around. We were mid-career. I think we were 10 years in before Napster was a thing. And, it's unfortunate what's happened. I know that the emancipation of music is real and it's here, and it's, it's definitely to the benefit of the consumer who has now been conditioned to pay zero for music. But as you and I both know, it doesn't happen for free. It takes an awful lot of time and energy and work and money. And, and all that is, I find it very frustrating when, I think I looked at my this new record, Shantyman, is not on Spotify or is not being streamed at all because I looked at my earnings, and I had almost 100,000 followers on Spotify and 5 records, almost 60 songs, and I made $640 in 5 years.
Oh,
so there wasn't much reason for me to stay, and that's what a lot of spin, and I'm like, wow, okay, because somehow, somewhere down the road, someone advised me to do this because it'd be good for my career.
Right,
it wasn't a noticeable bump in my income at all. And then I realized that the owner of Spotify, a guy named Daniel Ek from Sweden, his personal net worth went from like a couple of million to 4.8 billion in the same time period.
No.
So yeah, it's true. You can Google him out, Daniel Ek. And I just thought that was unfair.
Sean, you're 100% right. It has just destroyed people's livelihoods for selling records and doing whatever. And same thing with me. Hey, you did a lot better than me. I have about 50 originals online. I probably had them on there for 4 years now. As Spotify, even they tell me 165 different music sites, and I think I have about $35. So you're getting a lot more streams than I am.
I know, man. That's what I've heard. I've heard from fellow musicians like $640. That's a load. That's a lot. But I could almost. It just I've seen the devaluation of the work, and it's not good. It's never a good thing when we give our work away. It's not. It is art and it is work and it does have a value. And someone is capitalizing on the value of it. Unfortunately, it's just not the artists in Canada anymore. And record companies have to bear some responsibility for this because when you sign a record contract, there's your duty is to create the songs and record the songs. The records company has 2 roles: it's to exploit the product, to sell it for you, and to protect the artist. And they failed epically in this case to do that. I don't know what happened, but they folded. I don't know if it was because of Apple and iTunes and Napster or now Spotify and the rest of them, but they really didn't live up to their part of the bargain. And you know what? They always took about 85% of the money, so they enjoyed the profits while it lasted. But when there was a battle to be fought on behalf of musicians, they failed. They
weren't there. They weren't there. You're
No,
right.
they're all hiding behind their desks.
I remember when Napster was out and Metallica was so mad at them and mad that people were streaming their music for free. And at the time I was like, what are they talking about? They already have millions of dollars. But then it took me a little bit to realize how right they are to be upset that people can stream music for almost for free. I mean, like really for free. Maybe some people are paying for the odd song on Spotify, but most of them are getting it for free.
Yeah, and we'll see we see the results of it now. You can't afford to be an artist now. It's there's all the small venues are gone. This is a trickle down effect. There was a big industry and it was a very organic industry, but they've leveled it out digitally. And I don't want to be a Luddite and sound like my angry grandpa or something. I mean,
you're right,
reality is what it is, but it's not. It doesn't make it right what's happening, and it's going to cost us in the long run because there's going to be a lack of new art. Because no one's going to be able to afford to do it. It's all right if you're getting billions of streams like Taylor Swift or Drake or someone. There seems to be that 1% mentality. It's great because look how big this person is. But for that one person, there's 10,000 other people like me and like you who are just struggling, who had a career and we don't. And we could have really used a bit of money during the pandemic when we had no live music to play.
Couldn't agree with you more, and that's well said. The way you're saying it is absolutely correct, and it's just a shame the technology and the way the music has gone. And as you say, the small bars nowadays as well too. Boy, geez, when we were playing 20 years ago, 25 years ago in Scarborough, you could hit a different bar every week, and we were busy all the time. Now there's none of this. Even before COVID, there was hardly any of that. It seems like the music scene has just almost completely died out. There's still the odd bigger clubs maybe that have music going and whatnot, and the bigger bands, seem to keep playing and stuff. But for the little guys like at least myself, the scene is just totally gone out the window. That's for sure. I want to talk about Shantyman's life. I just think you have this new album out. I listened to it. I think it's fabulous. And why don't we do this? Why don't we play the title track off it and come back and start talking about the new album that you have released? It's absolutely amazing.
Sounds good, man. Let's do it. Rock on.
Let's do it, Sean. Folks, I have Sean McCann on the show this evening, and we're going to listen to the title track of his new album. This is called Shantyman's Life. We'll come back and talk to Sean about it right here on this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101.
Without
Hey, welcome back, fine listener. I have Sean McCann on the show this evening. We just heard a new song off his latest album called Shantyman's Life, and that's the title track we heard. Sean, great song. I love in this song how it's like rocking guitar, like rock music guitars in it, but still subtle with a recorder. It sounds like a recorder. It's just amazing how they both blend so well together. I'm curious to how you came up with this as far as writing the song and doing the album Shantyman's Life.
Well, this is actually a traditional song from the Lumberwoods. It's not from the sailing tradition of sea shanties. It's actually a wood shanty, a lumberjack song.
Okay.
And from the it's probably a couple hundred years old. And I mean, I did arrange it and took great liberties with the lyrics and stuff to bring it into the modern age. So I play acoustic instruments. I play guitar, tin whistle, and boron, and you know, I can tinker with many things. And this kind of came about. I'm also, you know, I was the Shantyman in Great Big Sea. I was doing my master's in folklore and sea shanties when the band blew up. And, you know, I still owe him a thesis. So I'm a bit of a folk nerd, and I know where to find these great songs. And, you know, and then I guess the task is to evolve them and bring them back to life and make them current again. So with this project, I really just wanted to, it was really just a mental self-help project to get me through the winter with no real live gigs. And I sat down and I recorded this song. I love the song and have for years. Came up with an arrangement, and it was just, I still have the original recording. It's me on guitar and boron, percussion, and acoustic guitar singing away. And then when I thought about what I could do with it next, I reached out to Hawksley Workman first because I knew it felt like a rock and roll song. So, and I loved his playing. He played bass and drums on the song and some electric guitars, and you know, he really kicked it. And then when I came down to mixing it, I sent it to my friend Gordy Big Sugar Johnson, the Sugar Man, and he's the one. It was actually too far. It got too far into, like, it started to sound like pretty heavy, like Husker Du or something. so I ended up re-recording the tin whistle part, and bringing it back from the demo. And he managed to mix it in there and keep it one foot in the trad world with the lyric, which is very much the lumberjack song. But he also played the lead solo there, which is, you know, fantastic. It was just, but I really like the way he approaches mixing. He mixes outdoors. He lives down in Austin, Texas, and he mixes outdoors on a 30-acre farm. And so, you know, it's very loud. He mixes at a very loud volume. And for that reason, these songs sound best all the way to 11. You know, they're just meant to be cranked. Yeah.
Kind of like Big Sugar as well.
Yeah, one of the best rock reggae bands out there, man. They're just, they open up for Great Big Sea a lot of times. I was always a big fan of Gordy. I even asked him at one point if he'd produce a Great Big Sea record, but when he pointed out that what he would do is make my boron extremely loud. I won't repeat the language because we're on the radio, but that kind of cost him the gig. The boys didn't really want to hear my boron as loud as Gordy was willing to turn it up. And, you know, if you know Big Sugar, they're famously loud band. I remember asking him, we were mixing one of the songs, and I said, Gord, can you just turn down that guitar just a little bit? And he said no. No, he wasn't going to do that. He said he would turn up everything else, but he'll never turn the guitar down.
That's amazing.
So I think that's how that conversation ended.
That's amazing. I love that. Let me just read you a couple of emails here. This one's from Ruth, and Ruth says, the days of Rankin Street. Love Sean. That's Ruth Gilmoss.
Rankin Street's way back there. Yeah, first band.
Amazing. And Clyde says, hey to Sean, the rose, God bless the rose and thistle.
Yeah, that's where Great Big Sea's first big gig was. Actually, it was Great Big 3 then. It wasn't Bob. It was just me and Alan and Daryl. So we did our first show there. It's a very small place too. Everyone keeps saying that. Everyone who said that they were there for that first show, it must be 1,000 people, but I know for a fact the capacity's 55.
Everybody wants to claim that they were there.
We would have had to do several shows to see all 1,000 people, but it was quite the show. It was a great beginning.
That's amazing. Good for you. And let me ask you about your writing process, Sean. So for me, like I might write, pick up my acoustic, sometimes an electric, and write, or just fumble around with some chords and then record them on my phone for a minute or two, maybe come back 3 weeks later I probably have honestly about 200 of these things on my phone. And if I come back a couple of weeks later and listen to 3 or 4 of them and like one, then maybe write some lyrics to the melodies of the songs that I've already had recorded on my phone. How about your writing process? How do you go about writing a song?
Man, I'm a phone kid too. I do the same thing you do. I save all these bits and pieces. I might be, especially in the middle of the night.
Right.
Like I often have a dream, and there's music in the dream, and Amazing. It might be me watching the music being played or whatever. But I've learned not to just, for a while there, I go back to sleep and say I'll remember that in the morning, but I never did.
Right.
So you gotta get out of the bed and hum it in there and say what it is, do the work, and then you'll have it, because it does disappear. Melodies are like butterflies. You got to catch them, while you see them, because you won't see them a second time most often. And that's how I do it too. I save pieces, and when I have an idea for a lyric, I will, and I'll probably have an idea for a lyric, and it's usually a chorus. If I have a chorus, then I know there's a song there. So then I might write the song with just a chorus, but then I'll go back through these little voice messages I save up and, go cherry picking through them for hooks and lyrics and words and ideas. And there's always a few things that really come through. Those little pieces are useful, man. They've ever since I've had my first little smartphone with the little voice message thing on it, I've been using that as a a thought collector, I guess I'd call it.
It really is. Yeah, it's amazing. And that you can read, like you say, a thought collector, good way to say it. Sean, I have written at least 3 or 4 super, super hit songs and woke up and couldn't remember what they were.
Yeah, I know how it feels, man. It's a terrible feeling. Yeah. Could have been huge.
It really is. It really is, but maybe because we're actually sleeping and dreaming about it, it's better than what it might really be. But it sure feels like they would have been great songs. But I've done a few of those as well, so it can relate to exactly what you're saying. When was the last time, Sean, you were in Newfoundland, and when do you plan on going again?
I was back this summer. It was the first time in 18 months. Saw my parents and my family. And we were home for 9 days, and did some fishing, did some great hiking. Beautiful country there, and it was nice for me to be back to the sea. I live in Ottawa now, so the Shantyman has to go back to the sea to get his lungs full of salty air, and that was really nice to get back. And I was lucky because they just literally today they've reinstated restrictions. The Atlantic bubble is folded down, and quarantines are back. So yeah, you got to strike while the iron is hot there. So hopefully I'll get back again soon, whenever things settle down again.
Absolutely. And you plan on, I guess, probably no tour dates as of now, like a lot of professional musicians, but maybe plan on down the road touring there again with your solo stuff?
Yeah, I do go back occasionally. I do a lot of musical keynote speaking in the recovery field now, and music. I bring my songs with me and share, my truth and my journey and stuff. And I do have a very positive impact on a lot of people. And I have a lot of compassion for people who suffer from addiction. I've been sober. I'll be sober 10 years, November 9th. So that's kind of where I do a lot of work in that field. And the last time I was in Newfoundland, actually, I did a bunch of stuff in high schools about for students, and kind of a cautionary tale type thing, but also building up their confidence. And I went into the oldest jail that's now left in Canada, Her Majesty's Penitentiary, which really should have been torn down about 100 years ago, and sang with the inmates in there. So I do get back for some strange shows. I don't play clubs anymore, but I play prisons.
Good for you. Yeah, play prisons. Yeah, there you go. No, there's a big famous one by Johnny Cash, that's for sure, San Quentin.
Yeah,
so,
he's got a couple.
Sure.
It was good enough for Johnny. It's good enough for me.
There you go, buddy. Hey, and also November 2017, you organized a benefit songwriter circle at the Algonquin Commons Theatre in Ottawa with your friends Joel Plaskett, Sarah Harner, Jeremy Fisher to raise money. Now, I heard about this, Sean, back then, to raise, with Jeremy Fisher to raise money to purchase guitars for veterans suffering from PTSD and other mental health issues. How did that all start for you? That's amazing.
Yeah, man. I was invited. There's a group called Guitars for Vets, and they reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in helping them. And I'm a pacifist. I mean, I don't have a military bone in my body, really. But I told them that, and they said, "Yeah, so are we. We're peacekeepers." And I'm like, "Okay."
Right.
And I was really interested because they were using the issues they're dealing with are addiction and PTSD and mental health issues. So I was interested in learning more and helping them. And what did it for me was they took me on they call it a boots on the ground walk here in Ottawa. And what they do is they go around looking for veterans who are homeless, which was shocking to me. I mean, again, I don't know that world very much, but it's a thing that's an ongoing thing and has been for many years. It's amazing to me that our veterans will be in that situation, but they are. Many of them are. And a lot of them suffer from addiction and can't find their way out of it. So we found two vets that day who were struggling, and that just broke my heart. So then I believe music is strong medicine, and this seemed to be a good way to help, a practical way, I felt, and often cheaper than a psychiatrist if you can find one, So we raised like $60,000 for guitars and cut a deal with Long and McQuaid to supply them for like $50 each.
So amazing.
A decent guitar and money for lessons, So, but that was, I'm really proud of that. That worked out well. They certainly could use all the help they can get, man. They're hurting.
Absolutely, and what a great gesture and a kind gesture for you to do that. That's amazing. All right, well, let's do this now, Sean. Let's play another song of yours off your new album, Shantyman's Life, and we'll come back and talk about it. I love this game.
Cool, man. Which one is this?
Sorry, go ahead.
What song are you playing?
Rolling Sea.
Oh, nice one. Love it.
Yeah. You don't even know what song we're playing, but that's okay.
No, that would be the one I was going to pick.
Good. We have it under control here. Actually, Eric picked it, so I want to do also a shout out to Eric Alper. He certainly sends me emails of all kinds of musicians that are out there, and I appreciate it. And I get to pick and choose who I'd like to come on the show. So that's how I got in contact with you, was through Eric. So thank you, Eric Alper, out there, for helping me out to get some of my guests. I appreciate it, folks. Cool dude, absolutely cool dude. I've been watching more and more videos of him and what he does, and it's just he's amazing.
Yeah, man, he's been around as long as I have. We're seniors in the business. I really have a lot of respect for survivors like you and Eric, for sure. We're still here.
Absolutely, and he's ever so popular with musicians and folks out there in the music world. So, excuse me. So. Hats off to Eric Alper. Again, thanks, Eric. Folks, I have Sean McCann on the show, of course, from Great Big Sea, and also Sean McCann is five. I believe you have 5 solo albums out now, correct?
Yeah, I do. There was Lullabies for Bloodshot Eyes, Son of a Sailor came after that, and then I sobered up in 2013, and Help Yourself was pretty heavy hitter there, rocking record with, made that with Joel Plaskett. And then I made a second one called You Know I Love You with Joel Plaskett as well. He's a great friend of mine, powerful musician, and a great interpreter of songs, great writer. And then I did There's a Place, which was a kind of a really stripped down acoustic, boron, meditative, lush sounding like Nick Drakey, very folky record, very acoustic record. So they're all very different records. And then this one, which is, blow your socks off.
Right. Yeah. Well,
so, why do it twice when you can do everything once?
So great to be so versatile like that and be different, as you go along with your music. It's just versatility always makes the best of musicians, that's for sure. Beatles were one of those bands, very, very versatile, and so many others. Zeppelin was another one. I'm not just talking about rock. I'm talking about all different kinds of music as well. But the versatile bands are always the best when they can do a rock song, kind of like Shanty's Man's Life is kind of like a rocky song, and then do a lullaby at the same time. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, I have Sean McCann on the show this evening. We are going to listen to his song Rolling Sea, and we will come back and talk to Sean about it right here on this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101.
Don't you see the ships are coming? Don't you see them in full sail? Don't you see the ships are coming, racing hard before the gale? Oh, my little rolling sailor, will you ever rolling be? How I miss my rolling sailor when she's on the rolling sea. Sail on the rolling sea. Soldiers, they get none but brass. How I love my rolling sailor. Soldiers, they can kiss my. Oh, my little rolling sailor, will you ever rolling be? How I miss my rolling sailor when she's on the rolling sea. Sail on the rolling sea. And happy with my love so far from me, waiting for my rolling sailor for the day when she is free. Oh, my little rolling sailor, will you ever rolling be? How I miss my rolling sailor when she's on the rolling sea. Sail on the rolling sea. At an end, every brave and rolling sailor could come sailing home again. Oh, my little rolling sailor, will you ever rolling be? How I miss my rolling sailor when she's on the rolling sea. Oh, my little rolling sailor, will you ever rolling be? I miss my rolling sailor when she's on the rolling sea. Sail 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 on the rolling.
Hey, welcome back, fine listener. I have Sean McCann on the show this evening, co-founder of Great Big Sea, and of course 5 solo projects himself. We just heard one of the songs off his latest album called Rolling Sea. Sean, let's talk about that.
That one it's a weird sea shanty in that it turns itself around on the beat. It's kind of a strange one. It must be for doing something strange on a ship. Some physical labor that maybe twisting ropes or something. But I always liked the the lyrics, especially the soldiers versus the sailors. And, it's typically sung by a woman, but we live in the modern age. So I wanted to I wanted to be the man singing for the woman who's at sea. So I was interested because it is a bit strange, and I wanted to go a little further with it. And I totally changed the melodies. I stole the rhythms and stuff I stole from Men at Work for this one. I thought the Land Down Under stuck in my head.
Great band.
And I love the band, and they had a kind of a reggae, rock, very 80s, which is where I came from. So I'm guilty of Seymour Stein of Sire Records once told me that Paul Simon was a thief and Bob Dylan was a thief. So,
for sure.
But they were all thieves. They were just really good at it. So he told me to keep stealing. So I've been doing it shamelessly ever since. And that's where I stole the kind of concept for it. And then I had to put some kind of melody instrument, and I couldn't find the right whistle. I didn't have that key, so hence the whistling. I ended up whistling at like 8 different tracks of whistles. I don't know how I'm going to do it live because I'm not that good of a whistler.
I'm just wondering if your lips were super sore that day in the studio.
They were tired, yeah. Whistling is a lot harder than it looks. Yeah,
that's for sure.
But I really like that groove on that one.
Yeah, definitely reggae. Now, after you said Men at Work, like they're one of my favorite bands for sure, Men at Work. I have so many vinyl albums, or a few vinyl albums of Men at Work, and they sound great listening to them on a turntable. But now that you said that, I can certainly hear that where the groove is from that. So that's good for you. That's awesome. And you're not really stealing stuff. You're just inspired by other stuff.
Yeah, I'm stealing it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, you're a lot more honest than I am, sir.
I'm an honest thief. Yeah, I'm an honest thief, and if this sells more records for Men at Work, so be it. Colin Hayes, a solo artist, he's been very inspiring to me as well. I've gotten to meet him a few times, and he's quite the cat. Very, very funny, very self-deprecating, and powerful songwriter. He wrote a song called Going Summer was a great song. Beautiful World is another beautiful song he wrote. And he performs just solo and acoustic on guitar, which is how I actually play live. So, he has his studio albums, but then he's got the live show. And he steps up, and I've learned a lot by watching him. He's one of the great solos for sure.
Well, that's great to hear. That's amazing. How long did it take you to put this album together?
Well, I recorded it all myself first, and I had it all done. I was using the Apple drummer in Logic, who's actually pretty good. Shows up on time, smells very clean,
keeps a good beat. Yep,
keeps a solid beat, and you can actually, if you want to make them, you can humanize them and throw in some mistakes. So they're great to make demos with, but they all kind of sound similar after a while. Anyway, I was at the point where I recorded the whole record with like natural percussion, the Apple drummer, acoustic guitars, everything that I have in my possession and my capacity to play. And then I started playing the bass, which I'm really not very good at. And then honestly, at that point, I knew that there was the potential for a really strong record. And my wife told me it sounded like it could be one of the best I've made. And then I decided, to get off my wallet and reach out and start hiring some guns. And that's when I went down the path with Hawksley and Cordy and J.P. Cormier from Cape Breton plays the fiddle. But we all managed to do it remotely because we had to. We couldn't gather. It's, every time I've made a record, been in a studio, so that was kind of weird. I had to teach myself how to record myself properly. I did all the vocals in my little man cave here, which is, only a 12 by 14 foot room. All the harmonies, I had to figure all that out. So I learned a lot. It soaked up a lot of time. I probably punched in about 300 hours on the record, which is, I've been more in the middle of these tracks than I ever have before. It's the first record I actually got a producing credit on. So,
amazing. Good for you.
It killed off the winter.
It sure
did. Certainly
did.
made the winter more dealable.
Absolutely. And what a way to get through all these COVID days that people have been suffering through, as far as wondering what to do and bored and whatnot, being at home and not being able to go out and do stuff as much. So that must have taken up a lot of your time.
Yeah, it did kill off a really cold winter, and necessity is the mother of invention. I learned a lot. It really I know there's a lot of hours since I clocked it, but it really didn't feel like a lot at the end of the day. And I think
Right.
it was worth it at the end of the day. I know I won't make a ton of money off this kind of music, but I'm really proud, to get through a pandemic and come out, this end of it, we hope, with something was an accomplishment. It was just really hard to do. And for that reason, a lot of people didn't, but we just persevered. And I got lucky. I picked the right guys for sure to help me out. They didn't need direction from me. They knew what to do. So, that's how it got done.
Good. And, I know none of us not a lot of us are making a lot of money at this anymore, as you stated earlier in the show. But here's the beauty thing. I never really did it for the money, even when I played live. Now, you're in a whole different situation than I ever was, but I would play live and play in the bars. And maybe you've been here too in your early days and, go to get paid and owe the bar more money than what I was going to get paid.
Yeah, know the story well. And no, it's not all about the money. It never was. The truth is, we wouldn't do it for nothing because we love it. We just didn't want anyone to know about that because we want to have, you need to, especially when you have kids and, bills to pay. But no, it is worthwhile work. It's, my kids ask me what, they're of an age where they don't know what they're going to do with their lives. And I just find something you love and try to get paid for that. That's the win. And, if I look at my life in that context, then I'm a very lucky guy.
Absolutely, Bud. What a great career you've had. And the other thing I love about recording, I think about this a lot when I go in to record songs that I write, is that it's going to be there when I'm gone. So my kids will grow up and their kids will hopefully hear it. I don't know. They might throw it out. I don't know. But I'm just saying it's always going to be there for, our families and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to grow up and listen to. And that just makes me feel super good.
Well, you know what? I just noticed as I was taking my music off Spotify, they asked me kind of why. And I didn't answer the question, but they offered me, I use an aggregator distro kit because you just upload your stuff and anyone can do it. You don't need a label.
So do
you
I.
don't need management to do it. Yeah. But they offered me a legacy package where you could buy ahead of time, a one-time deal. Like, it wasn't very much money, but they would keep my music on Spotify forever after my demise.
Yeah.
So you could get paid nothing forever.
Yeah, just 30. I think it cost $35 because I remember seeing that. I didn't do it either, but it's funny as heck. Yeah, we'll keep your music going after you're gone. Yep, for $35.
Yeah. So don't worry about that. You're looked after. They care about us, man. That's how after you're dead, hey, literally, we'll keep your music going for you, buddy. But I guess they just try to come up with every single way they can to scoop a dollar in their pocket. That's hilarious. Yeah, and they're making billions too. It works. It's working for them.
Yeah, man. They sure are.
I gotta laugh. Sometimes you just gotta laugh at it. It is unfair and it's angering, but we persist. We don't let it bring us down. And, if my music dies with me, that's fine. I can live with
absolutely.
that. I'll be dead. I won't care. I'll be dead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I think probably the best way nowadays is to get out there and play live shows and try to sell merchandise and CDs. And that's really the way. And the other thing that could happen is maybe somebody would record one of your songs that you wrote one day. And that's something that I always thought, I'm not saying it's going to happen or thought it was ever going to happen, but the possibility is there that somebody could record one of your own songs. And then before you know it, bang, you've made $500. I'm just saying, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, I should say, give a shameless plug. I am selling digital downloads of Shantyman, all the tracks, and physical CDs. If anyone wants to buy them, just go to SeanMcCannSings.com. And I'll autograph it to you, and I'll make a little note to you, whoever you are, my future client, and we will mail it to you ourselves. There's a limited edition. 1,000 CDs we printed. We've already sold just over 500. So there's about 485 left, and then they'll be done. So that's how we've chosen to do this one, just to try and, pay for the project itself. Won't allow for much profit, but, it is available. If anyone does want to support me and anyone wants a physical copy or digital copy, you can't stream it. You won't hear it for free. It won't be on any streaming service, but you can definitely buy it from me.
Yeah, absolutely. And why not? That's the way to go. Definitely not shameless promotion. I mean, this is the way that musicians have to make a living these days. So cahoots to you and what you're doing. It's a great album. Before, I know we're getting past the time here. Before we go, though, Sean, I want to ask you, like, my favorite part of the show is to ask the artist, tell me a crazy story that's happened to you either on stage or on the road, or someone that you jammed with, or just a crazy story, something that's crazy.
Well, I got lots of them. I actually did a show with the Chieftains here just before the pandemic hit. They were on their farewell tour, and I've done a bunch of shows with the Chieftains over the years with Great Big C. And they've been a band a long time. Now, our band ended, and we're not the best of friends or anything anymore. It did cost us our friendships, and who knows, maybe it'll turn around. But bands are volatile things. They're like little volcanoes, and they can go off. And we had a good run, so it's all good, and I've kind of made peace with my past. But these guys were a band for 40 years before we were a band. They were a band for 20 years before I was born. So wow. These guys were, they really had spent a lot of time in the same van, because they never had a bus. They just always went in a van. Amazing. And so Paddy Maloney and his fiddle player, Martin Fay, they'd actually started the band together. They were in kindergarten together. They were the best of friends and the biggest enemies as well. It was hilarious to watch because at the time, Paddy was a non-smoker. He quit smoking. And Martin was a chain smoker. And this, again, both these guys were 80 years old at this point, or almost 75. Yeah. And we were on tour with them in Ireland, which, wasn't a very sober time for me, I'd have to admit. But I remember one night walking home from the pub, actually it was a hotel lobby bar, and they were done with us, last call, kicked us out, and I walked up, and Paddy refused to let anyone smoke around him. He was very anti-smoking. So you weren't allowed to smoke in his rooms or anywhere around. And we all smoked at the time, so it was a bit of a challenge for me and some of the other lads to not, we had to deal with it. And it certainly was a challenge for Martin, who didn't appreciate this new law, this new rule. Anyway, one night I'm up there and I'm walking up the stairs. I look down the hall and I see Martin Fay, and he's on his hands and his knees smoking a cigarette. And he's blowing the smoke underneath Paddy Maloney's door into his room. And I just had to laugh. I mean, oh my God, this is a cruel joke, right? And the next morning, we're checking out, and here's Paddy Maloney down cursing and swearing on the people in the lobby, really upset because he'd asked for a non-smoking room. So why does this smell like smoke? And it was just hilarious. I mean, some of the stuff that goes on. Anyway, I thought that was one of the coolest. It was certainly one of the funniest evil tricks. That really fairly harmless, but you can see how bands are. Just that's a great
absolutely
of how foolish things can get.
How foolish things can get, and just I can imagine just picturing him myself, like being on his hands and knees and blowing under the door.
Yeah, he's a little old man. He's probably 5'4", almost 80 years old, blowing smoke under his best friend's door just to piss him off. I mean, it's stylish but hilarious at the same time.
Such a great story. Oh man, that's wonderful. Sean, what can I say, man? Thank you for being here. Before we go, there's a segment of the show I like to do called, well, Gary Labar, what do you think?
What do I think? Sean is as Irish as you can be, Wow. I love the Celtic feel, the tin whistle, the bull run. You know, it reminds me of one of my old favorite bands back in the day, Horselips. A lot of his...
nice band.
Yeah, a lot of your arrangements and the way you fill in with a lot of fiddle and stuff like that, it totally reminds me of those guys. But, you know, Sean, it's great to hear some Celtic pop, Celtic rock. You know, we seem to be losing a lot of that. And with today's technology and electronic music and beats and, you know, nothing's real, the music that you write and produce and record is what I love. Real instruments with real people when you see them live. And I wish you the best, and I hope to see you live some point in time, you know, when this pandemic lets up a bit. So good luck to you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I'll get to Toronto as soon as I'm allowed. As soon as
Great.
it takes to do so.
And I'll be following what you're doing, Sean. My wife and I are just huge concert goers. So when you're out here doing a show or a venue, I know you say you don't do the bar scene, but when you're doing a little show or a theater, I will be following you. We'll definitely get out and see you. And I also want to keep following your progress down the road. Maybe in a year or two, we'll get you back on the show. It's been an absolute honor to have you, Sean. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's much appreciated.
The honor's all mine, guys. Thanks a lot. Keep it up. Keep fighting the good fight. Don't give up.
Absolutely, and we will. And to the listener, I say, always dance and sing, and let the music bring your soul to the surface for all the world to see. Until next time, have a shuffle your feet kind of week, and good night. You've been listening to This House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101.